consciousness, moksha, death, God. Okay. Sunny worldview. The book, like a mosaic, has three major chapters with sub-points. The pause, number 1. Who am I? Number 2. Be bliss, number 3. These raise sets of questions and offer answers, emphasizing the positive and the energetic aspects of the living process in the post-modern, vulnerable world, where, to quote Matthew Arnold, ignorant armies clash by night, and peace is alien to man. The author knows well that the stubborn persistence of certain fixed, stereotypical representations of culture is oppressive as it defies change, urging the author to meditate against such persistence. The excellence of the book lies in resisting, revisioning, and subverting the fossilized modes of thought and action. Unfortunately, Indian society suffers from what in the sociological parlance we know as the cultural lag. Mind is far behind the expansion of the processes and enterprises that were national or at most regional in scale and scope in the decades gone. During the past half a century, a seismic change has occurred in trade and technology and culture in general. Thus, there is something radically different happening today. The COVID catastrophe has further worsened the situation. Against this backdrop, a book of IM caliber emerges. The author takes a position, firm and assertive, implies modes of thought and argument, such as rationalism, wisdom, logic and emotion, to articulate our own social and cultural identity, to resist and redefine the cultural hegemonic archetypes, to reach the widest possible audience. Holding her own territory, she lets language and textuality carry the grace and polish of her projections, transforming the text into a post-colonial cultural production. Apparently, the simple text, it explores certain deeper layers of human psyche, and offers fundamental gospel truths and therapeutic remedies. Here, the author is a humanist, a psychologist, and a skeptical interrogator of the problematics of life and living. A few textual quotes. Number one. Spend a few minutes in the day without any thought. Number two. Always look inside for the problem. It's never outside. Can you step back from your own mind? Number four. Imagine the power you have when you don't have desires. Number five. Accept that you don't know. Number six. No learning can truly begin before learning about oneself. Unquote. These textual quotes are a testimony to the fact that the author's critical insider is very strong. The author can look within and explore the various shapes and dimensions of human existence, metaphysical, spiritual, mystical, mundane, all these shapes that keep us occupied and moving in the day-to-day life. Author, as I observe, text and the reader are equal partners in the process of appreciation and understanding of meaning. Nevertheless, a text possesses certain unyielding autonomies over which even the author has little control. Here, the author is dedicated to interrogating vital forms of imaginary relations to real conditions and the cultural behavior with the conventional facts of history. In this sense, I am combines history and culture and extends the interrogation to contemporary times. We find the best of what has been thought and said in human history. The author oversees the ideological cultural concepts and contests the established order as can be seen in sections on karma, samskar, moksha, illusion, death. For me as reader of this text, cultural habits are presented not only as theological or scriptural constructs or an expansion of the economic base. The underlying argument, as I see, is we have to understand the prevailing order in relation to the hegemonic forces at work. The essential question the book raises is, we have choice. that tries to examine, alter, reject, or endorse the prevailing systems of thought and practice. Here, I am with Antonian Gramsci as I find the author interrogating and arriving with amazing clarity and conviction to illustrate, quote, "As you seek freedom from the cycle of birth and death, the past karma that need to be settled in a hurry." It is so amusing, I had a hearty laugh when I read this expression, in a hurry. So if your intentions are not clear and you are only flirting with the idea of moksha, that will do. Liberation from the sins we commit, wittingly or unwittingly. You will perhaps shy away from the process and try to go back to an easy life. That way of section Karma, page 60. Next. We think meticulously about future events such that they are bound to be stayed when they arrive. Next. Except that God is not known to us until it is. If you do not know the truth and determine the one in front of you, that is Maya, as a lie, where does that leave you? Word is overrated. Please thank you. Here I am reminded of Ghalib. So everybody's favorite uncle, Chacha Ghalib. He says, हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल को खुश रखने को गालिब की ख्याल। References. Both stylistically and at the level of semantics, the book deals with time, change, and death. The quest is for the Holy Grail that we find in the wasteland. The mystical consciousness, moments of being, find a spontaneous expression. I am, do not add any more to that. All unto the existence is you, the only truth, such, page 126. Here I would like to quote everybody's favorite poet, Ghalib. He talks of illusion, he talks of light, he talks of the high drama that you mentioned, the Maya, that's of observation. I will quote a few couplets that come to mind. I keep reading, Ghalib is my bedside personality prop. I find answers to each of my problems in Ghalib. About God, he says, जब कि तुझ बिन नहीं कोई मौजूद, जब कि तुझ बिन नहीं कोई मौजूद, फिर ये हंगामा है खुदा क्या है। जब कि तुझ बिन नहीं कोई मौजूद, फिर ये हंगामा है खुदा क्या है। About the anxiety author mentioned anxiety about death. Ghalib says, मौत का एक दिन मुअय्यन है, ordained. One must die. मौत का एक दिन मुअय्यन है, नींद क्यों रात भर नहीं आती. About our day-to-day activities, he says, you see, a poet uses certain words which we misconstrue in the day-to-day understanding of the word. The word havas. Havas comes to us as a desire of the skins only, nothing beyond. Havas in Ghalib means the actions we do, things that keep us moving and give us delight and pleasure, he says. Havas ko hai nishate कार क्या क्या. What kinds of delight and pleasures we derive from our day-to-day activities. Havas ko hai nishate कार क्या क्या. ना हो मरना तो जीने का मजा क्या. About being and nothing, you raise somewhere. ना था कुछ तो खुदा था. It's very difficult. Deceptively simple, but very difficult. ना था कुछ तो खुदा था. कुछ ना होता तो खुदा होता. जब रोया मुझको होने में, ना होता मैं तो क्या होता. About observation and being observed, the act of observing, Ghalib says, things that are so apparent, manifest, we observe them. Asle, shahudo, shahado, mashhud, ek hai. The observers, the manifest, and the thing being observed. Asle, shahudo, shahado, मशहूद एक है. हैरान के मुशाहदा है किस हिसाब में. What observation means. Now it comes back, keeping up. Deceptively simple. Most of the sections are more psychological, metaphysical, mystical than purely textual. The author knows habit is the enemy of art and life. She inspires the reader outside of the usual patterns of perception by making the familiar strange and different, unfamiliar. Ordinary language is transformed into an extraordinary idiom and rapturous infinities and incredible achievements. Now I come to the formation of such a text. Please listen carefully. One trained in literary theory and practice would definitely be interested in the formation of such a unique text. I believe content-oriented approach is a text. To a text is relevant to the extent that content is a structured creative experience wherein point of view and period of time merge. This is not to suit my own problematics. It is their due principle in the text I have. As an ardent Aristotelian, I do not consider it an anti-humanist stance at all. A good writing has a therapeutic and cathartic function, which this text has. Right from Panini to finally Saussure and now Chomsky and the behaviorists. These all masters were concerned with the problem how language works and means as a mode of communication and shapes the Bible text. I am is evolutionary in nature as it evolves in time and space, where the culture to which the author belongs is constantly changing. A world well assimilated by the influences of the philosophies of the East and the West, the book is an expression of contemporary sensibility. This too is a fact that it is not conventional as it breaks with convention more radically with stagnant convention. The text is a fine specimen of intertextuality, a method of meaning production. There are other texts at work, sometimes backward, sometimes in the background, or sometimes in the forward. The author has digested these panoramic textual resources as a reader. Some harsh critics may view the book as a work of pastiche, which to me is rather too naive and pejorative. I Am is a serious and enriching text that seeks to recreate and revisit truth in an accessible manner. A fresh whole is created with order, polish, and stylistic reverence. This gives I Am an encyclopedic scope and range. Conclusion. As a postmodern text, I Am deconstructs tradition. Its archetypes, assumptions, and codes. The text constructs and evolves cultural codes and concepts in fresh context and habitat, initiating a fresh socio-cultural and academic interaction. As an interdisciplinary and interpretative text, the essays gain the status of a humanistic enterprise, a vitalizing and telling commentary on the issues that confront us in their ongoing post-colonial time. On occasions, I Am appears to be a counter-discourse, as the reader can conveniently identify the confrontation between constituted reality and its subversion. In this sense, the book goes beyond the canonical truths. The author dares to do so in her search for truth. Here, she decolonizes the established mildewed stabilities with thought-provoking statements, with pithy quotes from saints and Sufis, thinkers and philosophers. Interestingly, life is never a luminous halo, gig lamps symmetrically arranged. With all the information, knowledge, and wisdom, life sadly remains an unfinished product. To sum it up, the book I am is a pragmatic text from a learned author. A text with distilled post-colonial, postmodernist stances and projections that subverts the stereotype. Valuable addition to the postmodernist corpus of pragmatic philosophy and rhetoric. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It is hard to find words to express my gratitude towards how beautifully you have reviewed the book and shown us how various perspectives of our lives travels with us. Your insights about the book have created enough anxious amongst us to be the readers for I am. So there would have been no one as esteemed and intellectual as you that could perfectly blend the wisdom with sincerity for this book. Once again, thank you so much, sir. Dear all, as the moment passes by, we have amongst us one of a kind and special person, our mentor, Mr. Gushminder Singh Japal, without whom this book launch would have never been possible. Like any fairy tale, he has made this day possible for us. Mr. Gushminder Singh, sir, he holds masters in English literature. For his MPhil dissertation, he chose George Orwell and broke fresh grounds for further research. He is an educational facilitator and administrator by vocation and translator by avocation. He has translated the works of three eminent poets, Padma Shri Dr. Surjit Patel, Jaswant Zafar, and Sukhvinder Amrit from Punjabi to English. Mr. Gushminder Japal is a translator with a rare palpable grasp over the original visual and experiential poetic world. His translations have received quite critical acclaim with their authentic approximation, strategic acumen, and lyrical intensity. Closely associated with the reputed biannual literary journal Urdu Alive as associate editor, he has significantly contributed in making the journal a dynamic literary document. A man of rich and varied taste, many a pursuit occupy his waking hours. He delivers radio talks from All India Radio, contributes articles to leading newspapers and magazines, develops content for the website, conducts workshops for teachers, students, and authors. In his 35 years of teaching experience, 3 years have seen him as vice principal and 16 as principal. Presently, he is the director of Guru Ram Das Academy, Ludhiana, a premier educational institution affiliated to CBSE. I welcome you, sir. Dear all, let's know about the author of the book for all which we have gathered here. I am. Mrs. Harpreet Kaur Kang is a journalist, academician, entrepreneur, traveler, and now an author. She is at the heart a mentor and a keen observer of life. She is equally comfortable observing life at both the macro and micro levels. She follows geopolitics and has studied international business at Harvard University. Her penchant for traveling and trying new things has taken her to over 40 countries, allowing her to gain her pilot's license and dive headfirst into anything she decides to do. She is a slave to truth. She finished her advanced program graduate from Harvard University, Massachusetts, and has spent the last decade searching for life's truth through the continuous practice of spirituality and an insatiable appetite for ancient scriptures. Some of her favorite texts recent include the Upanishads, Buddhism, Kabbalist training, learnings, Guru Granth Sahib, Rumi Yunus Emre. In this book, she seeks to undo the curtains and reveal the mirror laying behind them. We wish she keeps us enlightened with her thoughts and thank her for giving this book as an observance to our own lives. It's indeed a pleasure to know about you, ma'am. So now I welcome you, Mr. Pushpinder sir, and come ma'am for a rendezvous to give our readers an insight into the book. So this is a kind of a session where Pushpinder sir is going to ask Dhamma deep insights about the book in this way.
That's what it has to be, it's the Bible of the book.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here in a manner different. We will change the mood of the program. You have went through the literary discourses. The book has been critically analyzed and laid bare before you. And we all have assembled here to celebrate the birth of the book and also an author. You know, the two, it's a double dynamic. With her book, she gets to be born as well. And moments such as these are moments of reflection, of the moments to look within, the struggle and the strife that one goes through in the making of the book, in the writing of it all. And the resultant ecstasy when you have the labor of your love in your hands. When you see your work in a printed form and it comes to you, it's bliss beyond words. As I and Harpreet try to lay bare the agony and the ecstasy of being a writer, I would like you to lend your ears, and the questions that you're going to have may be the questions of each one of you, as any reader would try to expect to know something from the author of the book. And I did ask Harpreet if I could share with her certain questions in the beginning, but she was quite a tough lady and she ducked the idea of not receiving the questions. She said, well, I would take one by one as they come. I do not need to be doctored into this, and here we go, with your kind permission, please. Harpreet, what inspired the idea of your book?
Thank you, sir. See, before I begin to answer that, respond to it, one of the things is very evident. The entire book is telling you to be spontaneous, to live as it comes. The very fact, if you were to give me the questions, would kill it. That would be so, it would stink and you would smell it, wouldn't you? Right? Okay, so I think enough has been said sort of to put that out there, but what essentially happened is this beautiful little friend of mine and a wonderful, wonderful lady in my life, Rupika, was calling me soon after the lockdown and telling me how some of the students who were stuck, because overnight we went into a lockdown and there were about 45 countries on the campus who could not travel back. And then they were stuck in a hostel, and I remember our caterer mentioning that he would not allow anyone to step out because some of his chefs were pretty old and there was no vaccine and he could not afford people dying on his team. He would cater provided nobody stepped out. So essentially speaking, people were locked up, confined, the kind of description Dinesh sir sort of brought out. And young students were feeling depressed, claustrophobic, locked up. And there were a couple of students she hauled my way over the phone and said, would you like to talk to them? I said, definitely, I'd love to. And by the time this moved to second or third student, I said, why don't I write an article and send it out? I'm sure that everybody's not even reaching out to you. So we could send it out to the present students and to the alumni. 2 or 3 students down, we had a very unfortunate incident where one of our students from pharmaceutics, an Indian kid who committed suicide back in his home. And I remember writing 4 or 5 chapters, trying to make a head and tail and sort of give it an ending to cut them across these low plots that they were perhaps looking at. So after that, I think I didn't send any more articles, but I just didn't stop. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and pouring it all out. Until my eldest son, who's now with us after years of being abroad, he was stuck in Oregon, and just like any of the students, that I sent him a draft, not because I needed it. He's way ahead of me, for that matter. But just to share, I said, well, this is what I'm sharing with the students if you feel like reading it. And he wrote back to me after a week and he said, why only your students? Do you realize there are a lot of people out there who might need it? And that's what I just sent out to the draft to a couple of websites which said we accept manuscripts. I didn't even know it was in Europe. It wasn't meant to be a book. It was just, it's an accidental book. It just happened, as we say. Does that respond to the, thank you.
I think those rounds of applause should be a little louder. Not that it boosts her up, but it also keeps you awake.
Yes.
You know, the lockdown caused the book to happen. It was not one of the nice times to be in. And what we had was an absolute crisis. The book may not be an ultimate answer to all our questions, but certainly it would help us navigate the entire, labyrinth of problems much more stronger. And how would you like to express your sense of joy at being a published author? There are people who write, but they never get published. And here she is, lucky one, the very first attempt, and she got it published.
Right. So I was lucky. As Dinesh just said, I was a published journalist for many, many years. If I would like to respond to that, I remember as a much younger person, 21 or 22, when the first time an article would have got published in the Indian Express. Those are some of the mornings when I would get up and see my name in the newspaper and they would give me a kick. And I would wake up in the morning and run for the newspaper and say, hey, that's my name. The whole ego filled up, entire issue about it. Over the years, that kind of faded away. So, sorry to let you down with that, but it was okay. It wasn't like such a big deal or anything.
Her brief makes an attempt to go out in search of truth. And truth, according to me, is always elusive. It is always ever receding. And there is nothing as such called the ultimate truth. That's my way of looking at it. The more you try to get closer, the farther it recedes. And there's a longish question I've been waiting for you. Please lend your ears. Is there anything like the ultimate truth according to you? Isn't truth an ever-receding notion, always elusive, a mere illusion, and life would be dull without an illusion? Your answer, please. Life would be dull without such illusions.
So I would have a short answer to that, if you don't mind. I think everyone has their own truth. And if it stands true for you and you believe it, that's where you are happy. If you're unhappy wherever you are, then you're probably still a seeker. Then you need to seek further.
I see the young boys and girls, sitting behind. Maybe they are students of journalism. And in case they are at one, they need to be a little more intent And at what point do you think someone should call themselves a writer? Does at any point you have such time coming when you can start calling yourself an author?
Well, honestly, sir, I feel the writer is anyone who believes he has something to share
When does he arrive?
and would like to put the pen to paper in so many words. Now, anyone who has anything to share, and I don't care what that is, even if that is porno, it still has value. Look at the amount of Chetan Bhagats we sell in the world, for God's sake. So honestly speaking, if you have something, an experience, a learning, an evolution, you want to share something, and you're ready to put the pen to paper, you could be 7, you could be 70. I don't think age is a factor, and should never be.
I think the question was a little more
The
deep.
question was a little different, but at what point of time do you start feeling that you have become an author? There comes a point in time when you start believing that you are an author. You may be writing, n number of papers.
I believe.
But there comes a time when you start feeling, well, these are not mere scribbles. Now you are one who can be called an author. When did that time arrive in your life?
Hasn't. I gotta be honest, it hasn't. And second, I believe what you're essentially asking is, when have you reached your truth? After that, it's only the expression of it, or translating that onto a paper. If you have the clarity in your mind, then it's all there.
Mr. Kang, you would vouch for me in case she tries to dodge the answer. Has it left her exhausted, enthused, the writing experience?
I think he wants you to answer that.
No, I want her to answer, but in case she tries to dodge the answer, then I would need your help. Was it an exhausting experience or an engaging experience?
If I don't take those two choices, and I'll be very honest with you, sir. In fact, I shared this with Dinesh sir day before. I was telling him that I'm no more that person who wrote the book, and I feel kind of, I don't know how to say it. It's been 1.5 years since I wrote it, and I've grown from there. Every day has been an evolution, and I've moved on. So, a lot of conversations with a lot of intellectuals, a lot of spiritualists, variable people each day. And I see things, in fact, a little differently from where I wrote them down back then. So, it's an older version of me, the book. I apologize for that, but that's how I feel. You asked me for my emotion. I got to be honest. Sorry.
No, I think that's the question of what is the ultimate truth for you. That is where you started. What is your ultimate truth?
Is that the question?
So that was your question.
That was left long behind. We moved much ahead of that. And we'll come back to that, sir. We'll come back again.
Sorry.
And I would like to know, every author needs someone to keep the writing process going. There has to be some nod somewhere to make you feel that you're not doing an irrelevant job. So I would also like, and then you get to be criticized also most often. The moment you hand over your manuscript to someone, your wife sitting next to you, or to a dear friend, they would read it out and they would have, well, this is not what we are looking for. Maybe you need to go differently. So I would like to ask her that whom do you trust for objective and constructive criticism of your book? Whom do you trust for objective and constructive criticism of your work?
Right now?
There has to be a critic behind the book.
Yeah. I mean, once it's published, the whole world is ready to criticize anyway. But before it was published, 3 people read the book. And in fact, I wanted to thank them at the end of the day today. So on the left of the room is Vikram Maan, Rupika, I already mentioned, and Dinesh sir. And all of them, I must say, Vikram had never read a spiritual book, so he was the other side of the world who invested the time to read it, and he was very spot on, telling me I don't read this stuff, so when I read it, I'll be really critical of it, you know. And when he gave me a go-ahead, it was a big deal. Dinesh sir, the way he has been my boss, he didn't use the word, but he was actually my boss. And he's spoken about me having this, very equal sort of poised demeanor. Honestly, it was him all through. He had a poker face I could never look through. I mean, I never knew what he was thinking. I never knew whether he was going to yell at me. He never yelled. That's the whole point. Five years with him, and not one day did he yell. All I could do is make out. Was he annoyed? Like there's this little sound at the end of it. So when he read it, it meant a lot. He had some very valuable inputs, and Rupika was the one who actually changed the architecture of the book. Literally, she had deep insights. I think I was writing a muck. I mean, I was writing whatever came, whatever flowed through me. It wasn't even me, honestly. If you ask me to write the book again, there's no way I'm going to write it. So it was just running through me. It was a channel. So when she went to the book, she was like, oh, this has to go up, this has to come down to have a proper flow. And there were weeks when she was rigorously working through it. And they were the right people to tell if I actually left them an ear or not, or did I resist and say, no, but. So you're asking the wrong person. I think post this, you should ask these three people if I received, did not receive. We all love to believe I'm so receptive, open, everything, you know, like never would claim to the wrongs. Thank you.
The book in itself never means much unless it receives a good reader. And it is in the reading that the regard for the writer goes many notches higher. I would ask her that how would you describe your book's ideal reader? How would you describe your book's ideal reader? Who do you think would be the one, ideally suited to you as a reader?
The book is about life, sir. And I don't think there's an age group or a demographic that defines to it, because everyone is taking the same journey in different shapes and colors and professions and whatever, demographics. But
let me be very specific. If you have to pinpoint that he is my ideal reader, give me those 3 words, 3 traits that you're looking in that person. To be very precise, just 3 traits, 3 words, which would sum it up, that he is my ideal reader.
someone who's going through challenges.
No phrases, just words.
I'm saying that. Somebody who's facing challenges in life, the book would speak to
So
them.
this is a phrase. 3 words.
That's it, challenges, 1 word.
Well, what to you are the most important elements of good writing?
I wish I knew. Clueless. No idea.
You may have written n number of books, but this question remains elusive always. You never get to know what really clicks with the reader. It could be the content, it could be the presentation. Your language could be very good at one point in time, and on the other it could be your content which holds them over. So, ideal mix of both works. What advice would you give to those writers working on their first book?
Just know that you don't know. That's it. I mean, I didn't know. And it's a lot of hazy cloud out there, and then it slowly kind of unfolds into it. If you're there, you're good. If you think you're very confident and you know it all, you might be in for a surprise. Yeah.
Harpreet is a book old now. She has a book behind us. And is there any other project in the offing?
Not at all? None.
None. Well, our best wishes to the writer. May she continue to wield her pen with effortless ease, and may the best really, we get to see in the years later, and the best is yet to be, that is all. We sum it up, and a big round of applause to her who comes. The writer who has arrived with the time. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you so much. And I request our guests to join us back. It was, sir, a wonderful and a very engaging session for all of us. Dinesh, sir, and sir, please join us. So through this session, we have come to know the hidden manifestos behind the creation of this wonderful book. I thank Gurshminder sir for drawing out such an inspiring and great conversation. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, now comes the most awaited moment of the day. The ceremony we all have been waiting for. Now I request our worthy guest, the keynote speaker of the event, Dr. Parihar sir, to please release the book, and I request other members of the panel to kindly accompany the launch. And ladies and gentlemen, big applause.
Just, we can keep the books like this.
Sure, whichever way you say.
So this day marks as the official release of I Am. It's available for readers, and it creates enough, desires in our minds and our hearts to read about it. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all.
I request everyone to give her a standing ovation since it is her first book.
Yes, why not? Yes, thank you so much. And now, with that, I request some mom to please come on the dais and share her appreciation with our guests.
Every one of you who took out the time today and joined me. I'm a novice, first timer and everything. Your support means a lot. I know PCT is not very close, so you've come a far way. You've traveled and you've hopped in. You've probably left something behind. I know what it costs, so honestly. And Dr. Parihar and Dinesh sir, you outdid me. The book wasn't this good. I mean, honestly, Dr. Parihar, I'm humble. I don't even know where to begin or what to say. As I said, the book just flew out. I mean, it wasn't like a conscious effort. Dinesh sir has told me a couple of times that the Europeans suck at the English, and therefore they should have done a better job proofreading the book. So I was hoping a few critical remarks here, which never turned up. In fact, he put me on the altar, and I'm like, ooh, I don't even know what to say or do. Totally humble, sir. Your analogies and analysis means a lot. I do want a copy of both of your work. They're not listening now, but I do want a copy of both of your works, so I can keep it if you don't mind. That would be an honor for me. I've already talked about the 3 people who helped me put the book up after the publishing house said we're ready to go. And I want to make a special reference, not because they happen to be my mother and my husband, because these are the people who pushed me to realize the truth. You know, the ones closest to you give you the best bittersweet taste of life. So So they're the ones who've been pushing me over the edge and helping me sort of see things which I would have never done otherwise. Gushwinder sir, most of all, I would have never done the book launch. I was like, several months had gone by till he literally had me at a coffee shop with Dr. Parihar sitting there and said, he's already read your book, he's doing the review, he's leaving the city in 10 days, when are you available? Let's set a date. It came down to that. I mean, I can't be, I'm a naughty sort of a person who doesn't really sit down and do the job, as he says. I'm a rebel, so it literally came down to that after his months of coaxing me. Well, can't thank him enough. The day happens because he urged it to happen. Thank you everyone once again. Please join us for lunch. We'd love to sit and talk more with you. Have a great day.
So much. Now I request Dr. Kant and I invite him to please come and give our worthy guests the mementos. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a great day for all of us. So I request Council to give a reverence from our side to Dr. Aziz Parihar sir. Thank you so much, sir. And now I request sir to please give a token of appreciation to Gushwinder sir. Sir, it was great to have you with us. Thank you so much, sir. And the last, I request sir to please give a token of appreciation to one of the critics of the book, and without whom this would be possible. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. I thank each one of you for coming and sharing your precious time and showing your love for the writer. Your presence here brings us and gives us a lot of blessings to be here. And for the signed copies of the book, they are available at the reception. Our guests of the day, they can receive their copies from there. And now I request all of us to please join our worthy guests. They have taken out their precious time with us for lunch. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. I request you all, if you want to have the signed copies, they are available at the reception. And we will join now for the lunch.
Recording off, recording off.